Hi, welcome back to my reading corner. Grab yourself a cozy blanket or a pillow and let's read. When the Dandelions Sing is the book we've been reading, and today we're on chapter 8. Time for class. When she and Granddad got home, Mama moved herself and the 3 kids she had at the time into the furthest back room of Granddad and Grammy's house. There, she laid out some old blankets she found in the attic onto the hard floor, piled some clothes Grammy had given her for us kids neatly in piles on the floor under the window, and gasped as the sunlight kissed her cheeks. She was happy to have this place, her childhood home, as home again for now, but she was feeling as if she had let her kids down once again. She felt as if she had let her parents down, and that she had let herself down. How did this all happen? How was she, the single mom of 3 children, all under the age of 6, and living back with her parents, while she was still legally married to someone who had simply vanished into thin air? Had she been so naive to think that she could actually make her dreams work? Maybe it was time to simply accept defeat and just live a simple life, pass that simple life on to her children, and live more for the moment instead of reaching so hard for the future. She was feeling overly depressed and needed time. Time to find herself. Time to figure out just what was to come next in her path. And time to reflect on where she had already been. Granddad walked into the room, having pulled a chair from the dining room table, placed it on the floor just inside the doorway, and sat down in the glow of that same sunlight Mama had allowed to warm her face. He didn't look at Mama directly because he knew she was hurting and embarrassed. He just sat in the chair and stared down at the pile of blankets she had placed neatly and purposefully on the hardwood floor to make a bed for her and her kids. He was actually proud of Mama. Here was this young, struggling woman who had just delivered her 3rd child as her husband just up and left her all alone with only the clothes on her back and some scraps of paper with silly diagrams and numbers scribbled on them. Here she sat, refusing to relent, refusing to fold under the incredible pressure she felt. She wasn't throwing her hands in the air, begging for relief as she grasped at the sky, or sitting in a puddle, sobbing over past mistakes. No. His daughter, his baby, was strong-willed, determined survivor, and Granddad admired her perseverance. Honey, listen. Me and your mom have been talking, and well, we decided we're going to turn the attic into a room for you. Maybe the girls can stay there if you like, and you and Davy can stay down here. Your mom took the truck into town, and she's picking up a few things as well for you and the kids along the way. Now, we don't want any fussing over this. We know you desire to be independent and strong, but this is what we can do. So, we'll do just that. Look, sweetheart, I know things are going to be tough for a little while, but everyone hits the bottom of the barrel at one time or another. I did, many years ago, back when I still had a drink or more in me. I could have lost all I worked so hard for, including your mom, but for whatever reason, things didn't go that way. I look back now and wonder why I was able to get through all that, and the answer was simple. All the people that supported me, guided me, forgave me. I'm not even sure I deserved that grace, but it was there regardless of what I felt I deserved. So, honey, please, take the support. Let us guide you as best we can. And forgive. Forgive yourself. For right now, forgive yourself. Mama started to cry and got up from the blankets she had finished spreading out. She slowly walked over to Granddad, who was still looking down at his feet, and began. Dad, I'm so sorry. You and Mom are always there for us. You have always been, and I know that. I just want to make you proud and make my children proud. I know I have so much to offer, but I keep getting stuck in the mud, and I can't seem to move as quickly as my mind tells my legs to go. I just need to take my time, and I'll be okay. I'm happy to take your hand here. I need it, truth be told. As long as you know, it will only be for as long as we absolutely need it. Well, honey, Granddad said, now looking at his daughter's sad but a little more relieved face, you may be stuck in the mud some, but that just means you need to step out of the heavy boots you've been wearing and find yourself a new pair of boots. Find new boots, honey. Find better boots. Mama knew what he meant. She knew he was referring to her dreams and her ability to chase them. He was telling her to kick a little more, walk a little faster, push just a little harder, and leave all the bad times and poor decisions behind. Never had he tried to discourage Mama from her dreams. No, he would never do that. All he had wanted was for her to be genuinely happy, and he would do just about damn near anything he could to ensure that she was. That was, at least, how he thought his purpose in her life: to guide her, push her in the right direction, and back her as best he knew how. When she needed him to let her go, he would follow closely behind and watch without her knowing. When she needed someone to walk beside her because she was scared, he would be there to take her hand and guide her through, showing no fear. But when she needed him to take the lead, when she felt she had simply no more to give, that she was at her very end, he would take the lead and push whatever it was blocking her way clear out of her path with reckless intent. That was her dad. That was my granddad. Time went on, and Grammy and Mama set up the tiny room, adding polka dot curtains to the windows, a small round paisley area rug to the floor, and a twin bed for Mama, plus a small wooden crib for little Davy. Granddad worked every night on the attic, and after a few weeks and some bumps and bruises, he had built a wonderful, perfectly adequate bedroom for the girls. Janet and Thelma Louise picked out sheets for their very own beds, the first they had of their own, and they were excited more than ever. Thelma Louise picked out a deep purple color, while Janet went with hot pink, which matched her girly personality. They both had a new wardrobe of slightly used clothing Mama had picked out at the second-hand store in town, but they didn't know any better. To them, they were rich for the first time. New soft sheets that smelled just heavenly, new light oak wood posts bed, and all new clothes for each. They felt as if they had hit the jackpot, and in some sense, they had. Andy was never going to amount to much, and Mama knew this. She needed to get out and start over fresh, and as sad as she was with how it all happened, it was what she needed. She knew this, even if it didn't feel right at this particular moment. Grammy and Granddad knew this as well. Over time, the kids knew this. They rarely asked about Andy, and as time went on, they just knew that they were being raised by three people they loved more than anything in the world. Not everyone got that lucky, they thought to themselves. It was never about having a mom and dad for them, in the traditional sense of the word. It was about having the best people they could think of, and that they had without question. Mama started to work more steady hours, and Grammy watched the kids while Granddad helped however he could. Granddad heard that a local community college was offering classes year-round, and he talked to Mama about enrolling. He knew it would add to her already hectic life, but it could be just the break she so desperately needed. Maybe, if she could take a few classes here and there, she could get an associate degree and then get a better paying, more permanent type of job that would allow Mama to get on her own once again. He didn't care that she stayed there, and he preferred it, but in his heart he knew Mama wanted to get on her own 2 feet again, to build the life separate from theirs, and he understood her immense desire for that completely. When he mentioned the classes to her, Mama immediately questioned it. What about the money it took to attend? How about the hours she would need to devote to the class schedule? When would she see her children if she was still working full-time and attending classes? While it was something that she thought she could really do, there was an awful lot to figure out. The following week, Mama took a ride over to the school and sat outside for a few moments, wondering what she was doing there. She didn't have the extra money for schooling, but apparently they had grants for what a friend had told her, and all she needed to do was apply. So she walked through the old, large, dark wood-carved doors leading into the community college of Aberdeen County and went to the first desk she saw. You can apply for the grants we offer, and if you need more, we can help you secure loans as well. If this is something you really wish to do, we'll work together and find you a way to make it happen, the man at the desk told her. Mama never had any type of loan in her life, so she was unsure of how that all worked, but she was trusting and determined. The people at the college were extraordinarily helpful, and they sat with her, helped her fill out the piles of forms for the loans and grants they offered, and told her they would turn them in to the proper departments and contact her once they heard back. Mama thanked the man over and over, then she smiled, gathered her purse, and walked out of the school and down the road back to where she had parked her car. As she drove back to her job, she daydreamed and wondered if this was the right move, adding more to her already full plate. But it was exciting, and she had submitted the applications, so it was done. This could be the start of something wonderful, she thought to herself. Her dream of doing what she had always yearned for, being on her very own once again and giving her children everything that she could afford to, was now in the works. She could feel that things were within her grasp, and all she needed to do was start. She knew how to start. It was the finishing she was not familiar with. But with all that time between starting and finishing, she knew she could figure it out. If her mom and dad were serious about stepping in even more than they had done to this point, maybe she was right to take them up on their offer. Maybe she could pay them back by getting things in order for her and for her children, and then they could get back to the dreams they had for themselves. Although it seemed as if they were living vicariously through her for some reason, that having the grandkids around was somehow bringing them back to another time long ago, when they were much younger and more able to do the things they now only talked about. Granddad was only 3 years away from retiring and collecting his pension. He was now in charge of the shipping side of the steel plant, which was a huge responsibility, but not the back-breaking work he had done for so many years. He was undoubtedly slowing down, and that work was just too hard on his worn and battered frame. Lately, he had talked more about fishing with the boys than he did about working. For many years, he talked all about American steel, how the unions were protecting him and the other guys, and how vital they were to the future of the American family. Now he barely mentioned the plant at all. I think he knew, in his heart, that he was on his way out. They offered to keep him on board in different areas of the plant, but Granddad had done all he wanted to for the company, and although he was grateful for the opportunity there, he was even more grateful for the fact he would get to spend the rest of his days casting a silk line with his grandkids, hooking a bass, and teaching them how to remove the hook from the mouth of the fish so it may live to fight another day. To him, that was living. The kids wouldn't want to hear about how steel had shaped America and the shipping they did all over the globe, and how the price of steel was going up and companies were charging more for their products because they were paying more for the steel. No. Kids wanted to talk about sports and who hit a walk-off home run the night before to win the game, or what size catfish they snagged down at the creek. After a few short weeks of waiting, Mama found herself more impatient and felt that maybe the college had not accepted her application, or perhaps she didn't get the grants or even the loans, and that the man behind the desk didn't want to let her down. She started to seriously doubt her decision, and just then the phone rang. Grammy answered it, and she said, "Hello?" "Yes, she's here." "Who should I say is calling?" "Well, oh, okay. Just one moment, please." She looked back and saw Mama standing behind her. She put her hand over the receiver, smiled, and said, "Honey, it's some young man from Aberdeen Community College, and he wants to talk to you." Mama walked over, took the phone from Grammy, and she, too, held her hand over the receiver. She closed her eyes, inhaled deeply, and then removed her hand and put the phone next to her ear. "Hello?" "Yes." "This is she." "Oh, I see." "Okay, yes. No, thank you. I understand. Thank you for calling." She hung up the phone and looked down at first, as if she was trying to comprehend what had just happened on the phone, then looked up and over at Grammy. "Mom," she began, "I was accepted. They gave me a grant for the first year entirely. I don't need any loans. As long as I keep a 3.5 grade point average, I can reapply for another grant. Mom, this is it. I start in 3 weeks. She looked stunned, but happy nonetheless. Grammy went over to her and put her arms around Mama's neck. She pulled her close, kissed her on top of the head, and just hugged her. Mama cried, but for the first time in a long time, her tears were tears of happiness instead of warm tears of pain. All her hard work, her suffering, her inability to get ahead would finally be in the rearview mirror as she looked back only to see where she had come from. She would finally have the opportunity to do something about her life, and she would control the outcome. That was perfect for Mama because she was such a hard-working woman, and having no one in her way but herself was exactly how she wanted it. She knew she could do this, and if she didn't, it would be because of her, and not some man who promised the world and delivered nothing close to that. When Granddad came home, Mama ran over to him to tell him the news. He was grinning from ear to ear. This was the best news he had heard in a while, and he too was excited that Mama now controlled her destiny. When he learned that she didn't even need a loan for the first year, he sat down in his chair, looked up, and thanked God softly. He was so happy for her, and this grant meant she didn't need to worry as much. She could focus more on her schooling and cut some hours from her work. That is exactly what she needed. Her boss was good, but she was exhausted, and this would have only added to that. Now, though, it was a non-factor. She was starting school, and no one could stop her. Today was a great day. And that's the end of chapter 8. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope you come back and join me tomorrow for another chapter. Bye.